You keep waiting for the right conditions, the right time, the right amount of money saved up, the right mood to finally get started, the right sign from a universe that was never going to send you one. Here's the sentence nobody wants to say to you: so I will. You are not waiting for a season. You are hiding in one. Let's not waste the first 30 seconds pretending otherwise, because if we don't settle this now, nothing else in the next 50 minutes will matter. It's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's not your parents, your ex, your city, or the algorithm. It's your philosophy. The way you think about discipline, about money, about failure, about your own worth. That is the soil everything else grows out of. And some of you have been planting doubt in that soil for years, then acting shocked when the harvest is disappointment. You scroll past someone else's highlight reel and wonder what they know that you don't. They don't know a secret, they know a discipline. And discipline, unlike a secret, was never actually hidden from you. It was simply less exciting to talk about than a secret would have been. So nobody posted the boring Tuesday. Everybody posted the harvest. Here's the truth about the number printed at the top of your calendar. 2026 is not going to save you. A new year does not rewrite an old philosophy. You can flip the page all you want. You'll still wake up with the same habits, the same 11 p.m. promises, the same starting Monday that quietly dies by Wednesday lunch. Unless something changes first. Not your circumstances. You. Maybe you're watching this in January, still high on resolutions that haven't broken yet. Maybe it's the middle of the year, and January's promises are already a distant, slightly embarrassing memory. It doesn't matter which. The question underneath is the same one. On every date the calendar has to offer. If nothing about the way you think changes this year, what exactly do you expect to be different about your life? Sit with that. Because what I'm about to give you isn't motivation. Motivation is a match. Bright, loud, and burned out by Thursday. What I'm handing you is a philosophy. And a philosophy, planted correctly, doesn't need to be relit every morning. It just grows. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're not going to feel hyped. You're going to feel responsible. And that feeling, uncomfortable as it is the only one that has ever actually changed a life. Let me tell you about two people. Same city, same starting income, same setbacks, a job lost, a bad year, a relationship that ended badly. 5 years later, one of them is thriving. The other is still telling the same story from 5 years ago, just with more detail. What was the difference? It wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It wasn't even effort, really, because the one who's still stuck has been trying the whole time too, in bursts, in spurts, in dramatic declarations every New Year's Eve. The difference was philosophy. One of them believed something like this: I'll get disciplined once I feel motivated. I'll get serious once things calm down. I'll start once conditions improve. The other believed something very different. Discipline comes first. Motivation is what discipline produces, not what produces discipline. Read that again, because most people have it backwards their entire lives. You don't wait to feel like showing up and then build the discipline. You show up, disciplined, whether you feel like it or not, and the motivation arrives afterward, almost embarrassed it took so long to catch up. If you wait for motivation, you will wait forever, because motivation is a mood, and moods don't keep promises. If you build discipline instead, motivation eventually shows up on its own, late, apologizing, but useful once it arrives. So let me ask you plainly, how many Januaries have you done this before? How many times has "this is finally the year" turned into "next year, for real this time"? I'm not asking to shame you. I'm asking because the definition of stuck is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And most people aren't stuck because they're lazy. They're stuck because they've never once questioned the philosophy sitting underneath the behavior. You can change your habits for 30 days and still fail, if the philosophy underneath those habits hasn't changed. Because the old philosophy will just grow new excuses the moment the new habit gets hard. It's not your season. It's not your circumstances. It's your philosophy. Say that to yourself. Next time you want to blame the calendar, the economy, or your childhood for a decision you are making today. Because here's the uncomfortable gift hiding inside that truth. If your philosophy built this life, your philosophy can build a different one. That's not an insult. That is the most hopeful sentence in this entire video. Now, here's a distinction that will save you years if you actually apply it. There's a difference between working on your job and working on yourself. Working on your job earns you a paycheck. Working on yourself consistently earns you a completely different life, because the skill, discipline, and character you build in the hours nobody's paying you for eventually become worth more than the hours somebody is. Spend 8 hours a day on your job and 0 minutes on yourself, and you will get exactly what your job pays. Nothing more. Spend those same 8 hours on your job, then invest even 30 honest minutes on yourself, your mind, your discipline, your character, your skill. And you are quietly building a second income no employer controls, and no bad economy can fully take from you. The person you're becoming. Here is a law that governs farms and gardens and bank accounts and marriages and bodies and every outcome you have ever experienced. You reap what you sow, not what you wish you'd sown, not what you intended to sow before life got busy, what you actually, consistently put in the ground. No farmer plants corn in the morning and harvests it that same afternoon. He'd be laughed off his own land. Everybody understands this rule when it comes to agriculture. Almost nobody applies it to their own life. You want the discipline of an athlete, but you're not willing to train in the invisible months before anyone's watching. You want the calm of someone financially secure, but you're not willing to sit through the boring, unglamorous seasons of saving before the season of freedom arrives. You want a relationship built on trust, but you're not willing to plant consistency on the ordinary Tuesdays when nothing dramatic is happening at all. And here's a nuance most people miss. Discipline in one field doesn't automatically plant itself in another. You can be disciplined at work and undisciplined with your health, disciplined with money, and undisciplined in how you speak to the people who love you. That's not hypocrisy. That's just an unplanted field sitting right next to a thriving one in the exact same life. Most people don't have one big field of failure. They have one or two neglected corners, hidden behind a well-kept front yard. And they've gotten so good at showing visitors the front yard that they've almost convinced themselves the back corner doesn't exist. Here's the part that trips people up the most. For a long time after you plant a seed, nothing visible happens. Underground, there's enormous activity. Roots splitting the earth, reaching for water, anchoring against the storms still to come. But above the surface, nothing. Just dirt. A field that looks exactly like it did the day before. This is where almost everyone quits. Not in the storm. Not in the visible failure. In the boring middle, where the seed is doing everything right and the field still looks empty. Dig a seed up every few days to check if it's working, and you will never grow anything. Because you've disturbed the one thing a seed needs most. Uninterrupted time in the dark. There's another mistake, almost as costly as never planting at all. Planting today, then ripping it up in 8 days because no stalk has appeared yet. Impatience isn't a character flaw. It's a rational response to discomfort. Waiting is uncomfortable. Not seeing results is uncomfortable. But keep switching soil, switching seeds, switching strategies every time the invisible growing season gets boring, and you will spend your whole life starting over in month 1, forever moving, forever fresh, and forever empty-handed at harvest time. The farmers who eat all winter are rarely the ones with the best seeds. They're the ones who didn't dig theirs up to check on them. So let me put the contrast plainly, the way a farmer would say it to his own child. Plant excuses long enough, and you will harvest a life full of reasons why it isn't working. Plant discipline long enough, even invisibly, even when it's boring, even when nobody's applauding, and you will harvest a life you no longer have to explain or apologize for. Now here's a question I want you to actually sit with, not skim past. What have you been planting, consistently, for the last 3 years? Not what you meant to plant, not the vision board. The actual, repeated, daily seeds. The show you watched instead of the skill you meant to build. The scrolling instead of the sleeping. The comfortable, maybe tomorrow, instead of the uncomfortable, starting now. Whatever it was, you are currently standing in the middle of that harvest. That is not a punishment, not karma, not bad luck. It's agriculture. And here's the good news buried inside that hard truth. The law of sowing and reaping doesn't punish you forever for one bad season of planting. It simply responds, accurately, faithfully, without grudges, to whatever you plant next. The field doesn't care what you grew last year. It only asks what you're planting today. Now let's talk about seasons, because I think this is where most people misread their own lives the most. There are 4 seasons on a farm, and 4 seasons in a life, and you are always living inside one of them, whether you've named it or not. Winter is the hardship season. Job loss, heartbreak, illness. The dry, cold stretch where nothing seems to grow and everything feels like survival. Spring is the fresh start season. New beginnings, new energy, ground finally soft enough to plant again. Summer is the growth season. Long days of tending, watering, weeding, unglamorous work that doesn't look like much but decides everything about the harvest. And fall is the harvest season. The reward, the reaping of everything sown in the seasons before it. Here's what almost nobody tells you about winter. Winter isn't punishment. Winter is preparation. Trees don't grow in winter, but their roots do something just as important. They go still, they conserve, they wait. And the trees that survive the harshest winters are often the ones whose roots grew deepest during the exact season that looked, from the outside, like nothing was happening at all. If you're in a winter season right now, and some of you are, and I see you, I'm not going to insult you by saying, just stay positive. I'm going to tell you something more useful. Winter is not your address. It's your zip code right now. It's not where you live forever. It's where you're currently passing through. Say that with me, even just in your head. This is a season. It is not a sentence. Here's the mistake that turns a season into a life sentence. Believing the season is your identity. Not, I'm going through a failure, but I am a failure. Not, I lost this year to a hard season, but I'm the kind of person bad things happen to. The moment you rename a season as your identity, you stop looking for spring, because why would you look for a season that doesn't apply to someone like you? But seasons change. That is the entire nature of a season. The only thing that doesn't change with the seasons is a destination. A season will test you. A destination will define you. Don't confuse the two. And don't let one hard winter convince you it's the only address you'll ever have. One more thing about seasons before we go further. Stop comparing your current season to someone else's season. You will drive yourself to despair matching your winter against a stranger's highlight reel summer, having no idea what their own private winter looked like, 3 years before you ever found their profile. Every summer you admire was once someone's unfilmed, unfollowed winter. You're just arriving late enough to only see the harvest. Here's a quick, honest way to check which season you're actually in, right now, today. If everything feels like it's falling apart and you're just trying to hold on, that's winter. Your job isn't to force a harvest. It's to protect your roots and wait it out with your character intact. If you have a little energy back, a little hope returning, but nothing's built yet, that's spring. Your job is to plant, even small, even tentative, even if you're still a little afraid of another frost. If you're planted but exhausted, doing the unglamorous tending, watering, weeding, showing up on repeat, that's summer. Your job is simply not to quit in the middle, which is, without question, the hardest season to stay disciplined in, because the newness has worn off and the harvest still isn't visible. And if you're finally collecting what all that earlier work produced, that's fall. Your job is to actually receive it. Some of you are so used to hard seasons that you don't know how to sit in a harvest without guilt. Let yourself have it. You planted it. Name your season honestly, right now. Not the season you wish you were in, the one you're actually standing in. Because the advice that helps a summer person is often the exact advice that would hurt someone in winter. And half the self-help you've consumed in your life may have failed you simply because it was giving you spring instructions during your winter. Now, here's the part that requires the most honesty of all. Some of you aren't in winter anymore. You're actually in spring, maybe even summer. Conditions have improved. A door has opened, but you're still walking around with a winter philosophy. Still bracing, still hoarding, still refusing to plant because the last winter taught you nothing grows. That's not caution. That's an old season refusing to end because you haven't given yourself permission to believe a new one already started. And for those of you starting over, really starting over, from a place that looks a lot like zero, hear this clearly. Starting over is not starting from zero. You are not the same person who failed the last time. You are that person, plus everything the failure taught you. That's not zero. That's a running start most people never get, because they never fell hard enough to learn what you just learned. Every farmer who lives through one bad season becomes better at reading the sky before the next one. Let your last winter make you a better farmer, not a permanent one. There are only ever two forces competing for your daily choices: discipline and regret. And here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. You will feel weight either way. The only choice you actually get is when you carry it. Discipline is heavy in the morning. It's the alarm you don't want to answer, the workout you don't want to start, the harder conversation you keep postponing, the budget you don't want to look at. It costs you now, in a currency you feel immediately: comfort. Regret is heavy at night, or worse, years from now. It's the mirror you avoid, the "I should have" that shows up uninvited at 2 in the morning. The apology you owe yourself. It costs you later, in a currency that compounds quietly, time you don't get back. Here is the equation, and it never changes, for anyone, ever. Pay now, or pay later. Discipline is the price you pay today. Regret is the price you pay tomorrow. And tomorrow always charges more interest than today does. Let me make this concrete, because vague wisdom doesn't change behavior. Specific contrast does. Skip the workout today, and you save 45 minutes. Skip it for 4 years, and you don't just lose the hours, you lose the version of yourself who could have used those years to build strength and energy you'll now have to build later, from further behind, with less time to do it in. Avoid the hard conversation today, and you save yourself 10 uncomfortable minutes. Avoid it for a decade, and you don't just lose the conversation, you lose the relationship it could have repaired, one avoided Tuesday at a time. Spend instead of save today, and you get a small, forgettable hit of relief. Do that every week for 10 years, and you don't just lose the money, you lose the version of your future self who could have had options, to leave the job, to take the risk, to breathe. None of these losses show up immediately. That's exactly what makes regret so dangerous. It doesn't announce itself. It quietly accumulates in an account you forgot you were even funding, and it always comes due. Meanwhile, discipline works the opposite way. It costs you immediately and pays you later, and the delay is exactly why so many people give up on it. We're wired to weigh what we feel today far more heavily than what we'll feel next year. That wiring isn't a character flaw, it's just biology. But biology isn't destiny, and philosophy can override biology, if you let it. I think about two people who started from the exact same disadvantages, same neighborhood, same lack of resources, same rough beginning. One of them became disciplined about the boring things, showing up early, finishing what he started, saving before spending. The other became disciplined about comfort instead, always finding whichever version of later felt best in the moment. 10 years on, people looked at their different results and called it luck. It wasn't luck. It was two different daily transactions, repeated for 10 years, at compound interest. Luck is usually just the word we use for compounding we didn't watch happen. There's one more distinction worth making here. The difference between reputation and character. Reputation is what people think you are. Character is what you actually are, alone, in the room where nobody's grading you. Discipline is almost always a character transaction, paid in rooms with no audience. Regret is almost always a reputation cover-up, energy spent managing how a choice looks instead of managing the choice itself. Build character in private, and eventually your reputation becomes the natural, honest shadow it casts. Chase reputation instead, and you'll spend your life managing the shadow, while the object standing in the light never grows at all. So here's the reframe I want you to carry out of this video, whether you remember anything else. Discipline is not a punishment you're inflicting on yourself. Discipline is the ounce you pay today, so you never have to pay the ton later. Say it in your own words if you need to. Small price now, or massive price later, but never, ever free. There is no version of your life where you avoid paying entirely. The only real decision that has ever mattered is which currency you're willing to spend. Discomfort now, on your terms. Or regret later, on nobody's terms at all. Now I want to show you the most underrated force in human achievement. And it isn't talent, and it isn't connections, and it isn't even discipline by itself. It's compounding. Compounding is what happens when a small, consistent action gets repeated long enough that it stops being small. One page of a book, read every day, doesn't feel like anything. It feels almost embarrassingly small. 30 seconds of effort, barely worth mentioning. But one page a day is a finished book in under a year. Do that for 10 years. And you haven't just read some books. You've built a mind most people, who don't have time to read, will simply never have access to. One more rep than yesterday doesn't feel like anything either. But that's not really what you're building in the gym. You're building the kind of person who shows up on the days it doesn't feel like anything. And that person eventually shows up for everything else in life too. Here's the part that determines who actually gets to enjoy compounding, and who quits right before it kicks in. Compounding is boring in the beginning. Painfully, forgettably boring. Month 1 looks like nothing. The page count looks the same as someone who read 0 books. The bank account looks the same as someone who saved nothing. The relationship looks the same as someone who never showed up with consistency at all. This is exactly where almost everyone quits. Not because the plan failed, but because the plan, in month 1, looks indistinguishable from doing nothing. Need proof it's working every single day, and you will quit compounding before it ever compounds, because the entire mechanism requires time you cannot see or feel in the moment. Let me ask you plainly, what small, boring action have you already quit on, 10 or 11 times, right before it would have started to compound? Let me give you the contrast plainly. The person chasing a dramatic overnight transformation will feel amazing for exactly as long as the excitement lasts, then quit the moment the excitement runs out, usually within a few weeks. The person who commits to something small and unglamorous, repeated without needing applause, will feel like nothing is happening for months, then almost suddenly look up and find they've built something the dramatic transformation person never got close to. That's not a coincidence. That's the whole mechanism. There's a plant that makes this easier to picture, bamboo. Plant a bamboo seed, and for close to 5 years, you will see almost nothing above the soil. Just a small shoot, barely growing, season after unimpressive season. Anyone watching would assume it failed. Anyone impatient would dig it up and plant something that shows results faster. But underground, for those 5 years, the bamboo is building an enormous root system, wide, deep, and patient. Then, in about 6 weeks, once the roots are finally ready, that same plant can shoot up dozens of feet. It didn't grow that tall in 6 weeks. It grew that tall in 5 years and 6 weeks. The 6 weeks just happened to be the only part anybody was around to see. Whatever you're building right now that feels like nothing might be exactly the kind of root system nobody claps for. Right before the 6 weeks, nobody will be able to ignore. Let me make this concrete with money, because money makes compounding easy to see. Picture 2 people. One starts putting away a small, unremarkable amount every month, starting at 25. The other waits until 35 to start, then works twice as hard to catch up. Here's what almost nobody expects. The first person, despite contributing less overall effort per year, ends up ahead, often far ahead, because those extra 10 years of compounding did more work than the second person's frantic effort ever could. That's not a money trick. That's the nature of compounding, applied to anything: habits, relationships, skills, health. The early, boring years are worth more than the late, urgent ones. Not because the early years are more impressive, but because they get more time to multiply. This is why "I'll start when I'm more ready" is one of the most expensive sentences in the English language. It's not costing you today, it's costing you the multiplication today was supposed to earn. I want you to notice something about every person you actually admire. Not the highlight reel, the real substance underneath it. Somewhere behind that highlight reel is a boring middle nobody filmed. A stretch of ordinary Tuesdays, where discipline was repeated with no evidence yet that it was working. They didn't get to skip that part. Nobody does. The highlight reel is just the harvest. The boring middle was the planting. So here's your new standard, starting today. And I want you to actually adopt this, not just nod along. Stop asking, "Is this working yet?" after 11 days. Start asking, "Am I still planting?" Because that's the only question actually within your control. And it's the only one that matters for the first 90% of any compounding curve. The results are boring in month 1. They are noticeable in month 6. They are undeniable in year 3. Almost nobody quits because compounding doesn't work. They quit because they never stayed long enough to find out that it does. Let's pause here for 1 second, because we're deep into this now, and I don't want you drifting into interesting video mode instead of "this is about my actual life" mode. Everything up to this point has been about the invisible stuff: philosophy, seasons, sowing, the weight of discipline versus regret, the quiet math of compounding. Now we get to the part that decides whether any of it sticks: character. Let's talk about the difference between wishing it were easier and becoming someone for whom it's possible. Wishing is passive. It's standing at the base of a mountain, arms crossed, saying, "I wish this mountain were smaller." The mountain doesn't care. It has never once adjusted its height for anyone's wish. Becoming is active. It's the decision to build stronger legs, better lungs, thicker boots. Not so the mountain shrinks, but so you no longer need it to. Here's why this distinction matters more than almost anything else in this video. Most people are chasing hacks. The 5-minute morning routine that fixes everything. The one course, one book, one system that finally unlocks the life they want, without requiring them to actually become anyone different in the process. I need to tell you something uncomfortable about hacks. A hack can get you to a result faster, but if the result arrives before the character does, the result rarely survives contact with real life. Think about it plainly. Someone who wins money without becoming the kind of person who manages money well tends to lose it, not because the money vanished on its own, but because the character underneath it was never upgraded to hold it. Someone who gets the relationship without becoming the kind of person who shows up consistently tends to lose that too, for the exact same reason. The container has to grow before the contents can stay. That's the secret, hiding behind almost every sudden success that later collapsed. The outcome outran the character built to sustain it. Remember the distinction from earlier. Reputation is what people see. Character is what's actually there when they're not looking. Hacks are almost always reputation management. They're designed to produce a result someone else can see, as quickly as possible, with the least internal change required. Character development doesn't produce anything anyone can see for a long time, which is exactly why so few people choose it on purpose. It offers no shortcut, no highlight, and no quick proof for the people watching your life from the outside. It only offers the one thing that actually holds weight later. Someone capable of carrying what they asked for. Write this down somewhere, not just hear it and forget it. The size of your life will always match the size of the person you've become to hold it. Grow the outcome without growing the person, and the outcome finds a way to shrink back down to fit, usually through the exact kind of crisis that looks, from the outside, like bad luck. This is why character development matters more than any hack you'll ever find. Not because character is noble in some abstract, poster-on-the-wall way, but because character is the only thing strong enough to hold what you're asking your life to give you. Here's a small, physical way to picture it. A tree that grows too fast, in soft soil, with too much water, and not enough resistance, grows soft wood. It looks tall fast. It also falls first, in the very first real storm. A tree that grows slowly, pushing against wind, working for its water, grows dense, hard wood. The kind still standing 100 years later, long after the fast, soft trees are gone. You get to choose which kind of growth you're building right now. Fast and soft, or slow, resisted, and strong enough to actually hold weight. So stop wishing it were easier. Start becoming someone for whom it's possible. Because possible isn't a fact about the goal. It's a fact about who you've become on the way to it. The goal doesn't change to fit you. You grow to fit the goal. That's not unfair. That's the whole design. Before we go further, let's deal honestly with the things you're probably already telling yourself. Because if we don't clear these out of the field first, nothing we plant afterward will grow. I don't have time. Everyone watching this has the same 24 hours as the person you most admire. What you actually mean is that time is currently being spent on autopilot, and autopilot is just philosophy you're not examining. You don't lack time. You lack a decision about where the next 20 minutes goes. That's smaller and far more solvable than "I don't have time" ever admits. I don't have the money to start. Most of what we've discussed today costs nothing. Reading one page, doing one disciplined thing before noon, naming your real philosophy honestly, pulling one weed. Discipline is famously, almost insultingly, free to begin. What it costs isn't money, it's comfort. And that's a currency you do have, whether you want to spend it or not. I've tried before and it didn't work. I believe you. I also want you to look closely at what tried actually meant. Most people who say this tried a behavior, a diet, a routine, a schedule, without ever touching the philosophy underneath it. You can white-knuckle a new habit for 11 days on old philosophy, and old philosophy will win eventually, because it's had years of practice and the new habit has had 11 days. That's not proof it doesn't work. That's proof you were planting a flower in soil you never actually turned over. I'm too old. Too far behind. Too late. Late compared to what? A timeline someone else set for you? A version of your life that only ever existed on a vision board? The farmer doesn't ask if it's too late in the year to care for his field. He asks what can be planted right now, for the season actually in front of him. Compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 12, and you will stay exactly where you are, permanently convinced you missed a window that, in reality, never closes for someone willing to plant. I don't even know where to start. You don't need to see the whole field before you plant the first seed. Start with the one thing you already know needs attention. You knew it before you finished reading that sentence, didn't you? That flicker of recognition is your starting point. Stop asking for a map you don't need yet, and plant where you're standing. None of these excuses are stupid. None of them are signs of weakness. They're old philosophy, defending itself, the way anything defends the only shape it's ever known. But you don't have to listen to it anymore. You just have to plant anyway. All right, enough philosophy. Let's make this real, because a truth you don't act on in the next 24 hours is just an interesting idea you heard once. I'm not going to give you a 5-year plan. 5-year plans are easy to make and easy to abandon, precisely because they never ask anything of you today. Here's what I'm asking of you today, just today. First, pick one area of your life you've been quietly neglecting, your body, your finances, a relationship, a skill, and give it 20 honest minutes before you sleep tonight. Not a full transformation, 20 minutes, a seed, not a harvest. Second, write down, in your own handwriting if you can, the actual philosophy your habits reveal about you. Not the one you'd like to claim, the real one. Skip the gym 11 times this month? Your current functioning philosophy is, comfort now matters more than strength later. I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying it because you cannot change a philosophy you refuse to name honestly. Third, do one disciplined, slightly uncomfortable thing before noon tomorrow. Something small enough that you have no excuse, and real enough that you'll feel it. The point isn't the size of the task. The point is proving to yourself, in a way excuses can't argue with, that you're someone who does the uncomfortable thing on purpose now. Fourth, find one weed, one habit, one relationship, one recurring choice, quietly draining resources from everything else you're trying to grow. Pull it, just one. You don't need to clear the whole garden today. You need to prove you're willing to get your hands in the dirt. Fifth, say your new standard out loud, to one other person. Not for permission, for accountability. A seed planted in private is easy to quit on. A seed someone else knows about tends to get tended more carefully, because now someone might ask about it. Sixth, and this one is easy to skip past, audit what you're feeding yourself today. Not just food, information, conversation, comparison. You cannot plant discipline in the morning and then spend your evening consuming content or company that quietly waters the opposite philosophy. Change one input today, one account you follow, one habit of complaint you indulge, one conversation partner who always talks you out of trying. You don't need to burn the whole field down. Just stop watering the weeds while you're trying to grow something else. That's it. 6 moves. None of them require money you don't have, or time you don't have, or a personality transplant. They require exactly one thing, the decision to stop treating today as a rehearsal for some more convenient day that was always going to arrive tomorrow instead. Here's what I want you to notice about every single one of those 6 actions. None of them is impressive. None will get you applause. None on their own will change your life today. That's the entire point. You're not planting a harvest today. You're planting a seed. And seeds are supposed to look unimpressive on day 1. Now let me show you 2 versions of you, 5 years from today, because I think you need to see both clearly before deciding which one you're building. Version 1, nothing changes. Same philosophy, dressed in New Year's clothing every January, quietly discarded by February. Same conversations about someday. Same body carrying the same avoided workouts. Same bank account carrying the same avoided decisions. Same relationships carrying the same unspoken things. You're 5 years older, which was going to happen regardless. But you're not 5 years different, because different requires the planting we just talked about, and you never got around to it. That version of you isn't a monster. That version of you is simply what happens, by default, to anyone who lets seasons pass without planting anything on purpose. Now, version 2. 5 years from now, after 5 years of unglamorous, boring, consistent discipline, the kind nobody filmed, the kind that looked like nothing in month 1, you walk into a room differently. Not louder, steadier. You've built the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself, because it's been tested in private 1,000 times before anyone else ever saw it. Picture the actual morning, 5 years from now, in version 2. You wake up before the alarm, not because you've become a different species of person, but because your body has spent 5 years learning that mornings belong to you before they belong to anyone else's demands. You check your finances the way you'd check the weather, mild curiosity, not dread. You have a body that can carry your bags up 3 flights of stairs without apology, not because you chase extremity, but because you simply never stop showing up. Someone asks you how you built the life you're currently living, expecting an exciting answer, a secret, a break, a shortcut. And the honest answer disappoints them, because it always does. I just didn't stop planting. That's it. That's the entire secret you'll have to offer. It will sound almost too small to be true, which is exactly why most people who hear it will nod politely and go looking for a bigger secret instead, the same way most people watching this video right now are quietly hoping there's a faster answer coming. There isn't. There never was. There's just the planting and the people who kept doing it. Somewhere in those 5 years, version 2 also fails at something. A plan falls apart. A goal doesn't land the way it was supposed to. The difference isn't that version 2 avoided every hard season. Nobody does. The difference is that by year 3, a bad month doesn't unravel 5 years of planting. It's just weather. It passes through a life with deep enough roots to absorb it, instead of a life still thin enough to be knocked over by the first real wind. Both of those people, version 1 and version 2, are currently sitting in the exact same starting position you're in right now, watching the exact same video. The only difference between them is what they planted starting today. Not starting Monday. Not starting when it feels right. Today. So here is your responsibility. Not your burden. Your responsibility. Which is a very different thing. A burden is handed to you. A responsibility is claimed. It's not to wish for an easier season. It's not to wait for a better one to arrive on its own schedule. It's to become someone a better season can actually find when it gets here. It's not your economy, not your boss, not your government, your childhood, or the number printed at the top of your calendar. It's your philosophy, and you just spent 50 minutes proving to yourself that you're capable of examining it, which means you're already more capable of changing it than you were when this video started. No one is coming to plant this field for you. Not a mentor, not a lucky break, not the year 2026 itself. They can hand you tools. They cannot hand you the willingness to use them. Let it all come together, one more time, the way it should. It was never your season. It was always your philosophy. You reap exactly what you sow, no more, no less, no matter how long the wait. A hard winter is a season, not a sentence. And spring has never once failed to return for someone who kept their roots alive in the dark. Discipline now, or regret later, but never, ever free. The small, boring, unfilmed repetitions are the ones that actually compound. And the size of your life will always grow to match the size of the person you've become to hold it. None of that is complicated. All of it is simple. Simple, and still, somehow, the hardest thing you'll ever be asked to do on purpose. Show up, plant, and keep your hands in the dirt long after it stops feeling exciting. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are simply standing in a field you haven't planted yet. So stop waiting for the harvest and go pick up the seed, because the life you want is not waiting for the calendar to change.